All right, psychology nerds, and welcome to Psychology and Stuff, the podcast out of Phoenix Studios at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. I'm Ryan Martin, one of the hosts of Psychology and Stuff, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host. She's the chair of the UW Green Bay Psychology program, my good friend, Dr. Georjeanna Wilson-Dundas. How's it going, G?
It is going fantastic. I'm so excited about our guest today because she was a student of mine my first year. I taught at UWGB, and then we were neighbors. Like, she lived on my same street. Some might say a stalker, but I think a bit more like a friend. And now we do some collaborative work in the school district together. Sometimes I get invited to participate in the cool stuff that she's doing. So I'm so excited for our guest today. But I won't say anything more until we introduce her.
Don't spoil the surprise, Georjeanna. I was going to ask if she was a stalker, but then you went right to friend, which makes me think you've got some sort of Stockholm syndrome now, that she needled her way into your life, and now you are friends. Outstanding. Very, very good. How have you been otherwise? I mean, so first year, wait, can we get into years then, or no? Like,
that
first
was
year teaching.
1995 was my very first year teaching. And I was likely not much older than all of the students when I started. I was 28 when I started at UWGB, like just a youngin' fresh out of grad school. And so it's so wonderful that students have now become friends and colleagues, and it's a great thing.
Very, very cool. Speaking of a student and friend, let's introduce Kelsey. Kelsey, how's it going?
Good. So good. I was literally just going to say, do I have to move down the street in order for us to be friends after I graduate? Because I think that's a commitment I'm willing to make.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
I mean, not too
so glad
close.
To hear that.
Like, we need a little bit of a buffer. So.
Little buffer. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. No, of course. Actually, the house right next to me just sold. So you missed an opportunity. So, yeah.
So close.
Yeah. Oh, well. But
oh, well.
I did reach out to quite a few people to encourage them to buy it. Nobody bid, oddly enough. It's sort of like how Georjeanna and I have talked about this. No one ever sits next to me in meetings. We'll be in a full room and the chairs on either side of me will be empty. I sort of thought the same thing was going to happen with this house. Like, it was just people were just never going to buy it. It's going to become abandoned, like a ghost town. A ghost town? No, like a haunted house is what I'm thinking of. But no, somebody bought it. I guess they didn't notice I was there.
Yep.
We should introduce.
Find out.
Yes, indeed. We should introduce our guest. Georjeanna, you're going to do the honors, right?
Absolutely. So today we are so happy to have Melanie Brick joining us. Melanie, as I mentioned, is a graduate of UWGB's psychology program, and she has worked in multiple roles as a social worker. She has a master's in social work with a certificate in school social work, specifically from UW Milwaukee. She had worked for 15 years or so in the Howard Swamico School District, and is now currently the district school social worker at the Unified School District of Pere. And so welcome, Melanie. How are you today?
I am doing awesome. Thank you for having me.
So excited. And so, you have pursued a career that is very interesting to a lot of our students and a lot of our listeners, and that is receiving a master's in social work, but specifically working in the schools. And so can you start us off by telling us a little bit about, like, how did you decide on that career path? How did you decide that school social work was for you?
Well, I have to say, Georjeanna was one of my favorite teachers. I'm going to start with that. in her first year and her second year, I graduated from UWGB in 1996 with my bachelor's in psychology. So anyway, but her and her colleague, Adam, were like our favorite teachers. We all talked about them. We all loved them. We felt like they were our friends, kind of like they were not, but they were They were super cool. So we wanted
But we
them
are
to be our-
now.
we wanted them to be our friends. That's why I stalked her and became
I
her
mean,
friend.
can we at least
later.
acknowledge that I wasn't at the university yet? Like,
Yeah.
otherwise, I'm sure
Yeah.
that I would have been
Yeah,
one of
like-
your favorites.
Oh, you would have been like right up there with them for
Yeah,
sure.
just like a
I
tier
know.
below, maybe. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
oh,
Yes.
well, probably on the same tier, you know, like probably right
Yes.
up there. So
Let's not go that far, Melanie.
yeah. Okay, we're
You would
really
have had to
special.
decide where to live because I don't live in De Pere. So you would have had to choose East Green Bay, De Pere. It's tricky. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that would have been a toss up. So for sure. I didn't travel real far from home. I'm like 15 minutes from where I grew up. So I made it far in life, but no, I am actually really blessed. When I finished UWGB, I took a year off before I went to grad school because I was like, some of my friends went right on to UW-Milwaukee, and I was like, I don't really know what population I want to work with. Like, I think I like the elderly people, and I think that's like where my heart is. And then I was like, ooh, I don't want to see them pass away. Like, that's really sad, and I don't really have the heart for that. So, and then I worked with adults who struggle with mental illness. And then I worked with some adolescents who kind of found trouble with the law. And I'm like, oh, I fell in love with working with kids. Like it was, yep, that was my passion. So I figured it out in my year off and worked a couple different jobs, like full-time and part-time at these jobs, and said, yep, I'm saving up, I'm going to grad school. So I applied and went to UW-Milwaukee, and my first internship was with adolescent male sex offenders. And I thought, this is a very good experience. However, this is not what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. My second placement, my friend Scott had graduated from GB with me, Scott Borley, and he had gone on right away. And he had a placement in the Milwaukee Public Schools. And he and I had a class together, and we would commute together and ride together because we both lived off campus, as graduate students often do. And he would tell me about his placement and what he was doing. And I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Like, I think I want a placement in a school. So I did. I worked at Genslen in the River West community in Milwaukee. And that was my second internship in grad school. And I just fell in love with the work, fell in love with the variety. I mean, like, no 2 days are ever the same. And just love working with kids and like seeing their potential and building their potential, and like having an opportunity to make a difference in kids' lives is everything to me. So that's kind of how I fell into school social work. I had a really good friend that was doing that. And I thought, boy, I like everything you're telling me. There was nothing that he said that I didn't like. And I knew that that was the right track for me. And 23 years later, it's still the right place for me. Like, this is my life. This is everything.
That's really wonderful. And I love the passion I hear from you as we talk about it. Do me a favor, as someone who's, relatively familiar with the kind of work you do, but I'd love to hear sort of what's your typical day like? What do you do day in and day out when you get to work?
Well, I do have to tell you, like I said, no 2 days are ever the same, but usually at like 5:30 in the morning, text messages start flooding in on my phone, my work assigned cell phone. And it's families that are homeless, that are living in hotels, that are living doubled up, that have had some unfortunate campgrounds in tents. I still have one family in tents that I'm still trying to find housing for and resources, which is a whole nother issue, like talking about community resources and gaps in services and things. Like, we encounter a lot of those. But so my job is to make sure that they all have a ride to school. So I'm routing about 4 taxi cabs every morning all over Green Bay and Appleton and surrounding communities, and making sure that these kids are getting to school. So my job is to make sure that there are no interruptions in that service, and that they can get to school. So that's how I start my morning. And then by the time I get to school, I usually have some meetings. We do a lot of like student consultation meetings where kids are having troubles. It could be attendance, it could be academics, it could be behavior, it could be mental health, could be a lot of different things, health reasons. And we talk about them, and like, it's a multidisciplinary team. It's our school psychs, it's our admin, it's our counselors, myself, the social worker, special ed teachers. Like, there's a whole group of us, and we just problem solve around that student. And my role is usually to bring community resources to the table. So if a kid needs, anything from the community the kid needs an alarm clock, if the kid needs me at the front door, like I have been called a stalker before, by families I work with too. So, but if they need that wake up call, or they need a reminder, or they need me to drag a kid out of bed to get them to school, like I'm going to do that. So I start my day kind of with a lot of meetings usually. Sometimes it's paperwork, sometimes it's day treatment case reviews throughout the day. Sometimes it's coordinating mental health services for our students. I spent this morning, we have a school-based mental health program, and we had some students that were absent and quarantined, and COVID's created a lot of fun for us all here. And so we're punting this morning, and we have kids absent, and so we're putting different kids in to see the school-based mental health provider, which is a Bellin provider that comes to our high school on this day, but they also have it at the middle school and at Foxview Intermediate School too. So my job is to find kids and get them all the paperwork filled out so that they can access mental health services at school. I delivered food one day this week to families who have COVID or COVID quarantined, and I put it on their porch. So I'll go to the grocery store and buy eggs, milk, bread, cereal, anything they need. And our National Honor Society group at the high school just did a trick or treat for cans. So I have a bunch of non-perishable food. So I usually bring 4 or 5 boxes of that along with some groceries, because I know they're going to be locked in for 10 to 14 days and sometimes longer. So we make sure that they have food, make sure that they have housing. I'm working diligently with resources in the community to secure stable housing. I have like 6 families that still do not have stable housing, and every day I'm pounding the pavement. I'm calling landlords. I'm scoping Marketplace. I actually got in trouble with the district because I was on Marketplace for a really long time one day. And I was like looking for apartments, and like the IT department contacted me, and they're like, we have to talk to you about the length of time in which you were on like Facebook today. And I was like, oh yeah, don't worry, I'm just looking for apartments. So yeah, I was on Craigslist too. So I think that's what flagged it, is that I was on both of those kind of forbidden areas for much of my day. But I will spend a good chunk of day looking for housing, and yeah, I lots of things. Students who are having struggles behaviorally in school, I'll go and work with them, or relieve the teacher and work with them in the office, or work with them in the hallway, or talk to parents who are frustrated about our COVID policies, and or parents who are, frustrated with the lack of community resources around counseling and the wait times, and try to navigate that and reach out to colleagues to see if we can expedite services. And I don't know, like I could just go on and on. I could probably talk for 25 minutes about all the different fun things I get to do.
It's true. It's actually remarkable as a community member. So I'm a community member in the district where Melanie works. And what I see is her creating community for our kids at school and connecting them with our community. She'll often put out a call like, does anybody have a dryer this week or something? And it is very heartening to see the community rally behind those efforts. And I am often flabbergasted, like people give cars and like things, and all Melanie has to do is ask, and our community surrounds these kids with support, and it's a beautiful thing. And I love that you are the connection between the school and our children and the community that surrounds them. Would that be like a definition of your job as you see it?
I definitely do. I definitely do that connection piece, and removing barriers for kids to attend and function at school. So my job is whatever it takes to get kids in their seats and to have them be able to focus and learn and be the best version of themselves. That's my job.
I'm curious, and I know Georjeanna has some specific projects she wants to get to, but some of the things you described there, as I'm sure you know, are depressing, right? I mean, those are really sad. And so I'm curious how you stay positive as you're dealing with a lot of real difficult stuff.
Like I view my job as like planting hope in the families that I work with and in the students that I work with. Like my job is to bring hope to them, and I have to be hopeful too. And when you get a community response, like earlier this week for, I had a dryer donated, and I'm like, I'm just looking for one washer. And then another family needs a washer and dryer. And like all these people are offering washers and dryers, like all over Green Bay, and for our families. Like those are the things that give me hope, is that when people want to help the families that I'm working with to give them hope, like that brings hope for me. Like I still have 6 families that are not stably housed, and that, you know, that wears on me at night. Like I worry about them, but one got stable housing on Monday. They moved in on Monday. They moved out of a campground to a stable house. Like you have to celebrate those successes. And that's what keeps you going and wanting the next one. And like, I believe that all of these families will get housing. It's just a matter of time, like, because things always work out, you know, and I think having a positive attitude like that, things do work out. So.
They really do. I wonder, like Ryan alluded to some specific projects, and I would love for you to talk a little bit about the mental health grant, and maybe even like the Hope Squad as part of that. What motivated you to apply for a grant? Like you have a really super busy job, and applying for a grant was a little bit like above and beyond. So what motivated you to go the extra mile and apply and receive that grant? And tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. I think the mental health grant was like an opportunity to do some really cool things in the district that we don't have money for. And it was like not even just cool things, it's like things kids need, like mental health services. And like you see the gaps. I see the gaps every day. I mean, I could tell you about many gaps that I see throughout the course of my job, and mental health is definitely one of them. And schools like really didn't have the resources to get behind that. So when DPI came out with this mental health grant, they're like, you can write it up for $75,000. Like, I was like, whoa. And then we just started dreaming about all the things we could do. And like in our very first year, we got like $73,000. Like that's all we had asked for. And we were able to do things like the Hope Squad, which is our suicide prevention program here in the school district, where we train kids to be like the eyes and ears of our school. They're not counselors, but they're watching for kids who are struggling. We're teaching them about the warning signs for suicide, and they're watching for those and their peers and letting us know, and we intervene and prevent tragedies from happening, hopefully. And we've been very successful with that, by the way, too, so far. So, and I hope that continues because we're spreading it throughout the district. We started just at the intermediate school, and now it's at the middle school and the high school too. But anyway, so the Hope Squad was definitely just like one part of that mental health grant. And I can't help but talk about it. I even have my Hope Squad shirt on today, you know, because today at the high school, our dress up day here at the high school is like something that you believe in and something that is important to you. So saving kids' lives and, you know, being the life preserver for them, that's important to me. So hence the Hope Squad shirt. But we also have mental wellness screening for all 10th graders written into the mental health grant. So all students in 10th grade are assessed by Samaritan Counseling in the Fox Valley. They come in and do a screener for our kids, and anyone who flags like positive is met with, intervened with, and connected with resources. It could be our school-based mental health provider, or it could be someone in the community, but we feel like that's really important. 10th grade, when we looked in the past at students who completed suicide, that was the year that kids seemed to get tripped up here and like feel like least connected and struggled the most emotionally. So that's how we targeted the 10th graders. So that's something we've done for, I think this is like the 4th or 5th year of this grant for us. So we just keep rewriting it because like, I just keep coming up with other cool things I want to do. So, and the buildings have ideas about things that they want to do too. So I'm excited to make those, you know, dreams possible for them too. So we have allies in mental health at the middle school now, and we had it at the high school. We started it here, and it's just like looking at your policies and procedures and making sure they're like mental health friendly. And we're really targeting the LGBTQ population at the middle school and making sure that our practices there are creating supportive, safe environments for these kids. We want that to be somewhere that they feel like they can count on and they feel good there. So we have like staff and parent education written into the grant, bringing trainers in from like Bellin, Pere, Aurora, you know, all different places, and providing like information to parents that they need to know, like watching out for their kids and how they can help their kids. And I tried to figure out how to turn my phone off and I did not. I was like looking through trying to figure out how to park these calls. So I just hung up on an admin at the high school. Hope he forgives me. I'm just gonna leave my phone off the hook. Anyway, but so like we just, any topics of interest to parents and families, that's what we want to do. So yeah.
It's so amazing the things that you were doing before the mental health grant without money, and then the ability to dream even bigger and accomplish it sorry with actually like a fairly small amount of money. I know that like $70,000 seems like a lot to you, but to me it doesn't seem like a lot. Like we shouldn't have to have a special mental health grant to have these things happening in our schools, and I'm happy that we do. But I'm hoping that this just becomes part of the routine for our schools. Do you see that coming in the future?
I do. Like, I know, like with our school board, I mean, that's like a thankless job these days. I think with our school board, like supporting, they said basically, like, if we didn't get the mental health grant, like they believe in our screener that we're doing for kids. Our community believes in what we're doing too. We have a Hope Squad account and a Hands Across the Pere account where we did a huge fundraiser. And I think you probably even helped out with that. I know your friend Tracy did, but anyway, we did a huge fundraiser so we could like help families with car repairs, you know, a security deposit, you know, gas cards if they need that, or food, or just different incidental things that come up, athletic fees so the kid can play sports, or an instrument rental, or whatever it takes to help kids be engaged and happy. That's what we want to do. So we have community support. Like I think we raised like over $40,000, $50,000, maybe, let's call it, through our very first ever event in August, the end of August, to support kids in East and West Pere. So there's only one social worker in West Pere, and I was the only one in East Pere until last year. Now I have a colleague, Michelle Dulkey, who's amazing and helps me make all these dreams possible. But we connected with the West Pere social worker, Brooke Dwayne, because like we were on an island together, and it's like, hey, let's pool our resources and we can make great things happen. And it's like, if you build it, they come. Like it's just, yeah, it's self-sustaining, and this account is growing, and we can do so many things for so many people. And that includes the mental health part. That includes supporting our private schools too, like Our Lady of Lourdes in Notre Dame with their curriculum for Hope Squad too. This is like a program where when kids filter into our schools for high school, which they often do from the parochial schools, they can be part of our Hope Squad too, because they've had that curriculum in their building as well. So I think you just have to have passion, and you go talk to all your service groups, and our community just is rallying behind all of this, whether it's mental health, whether it's helping less fortunate, like they're just the champions in this, really.
So I imagine there are a lot of listeners right now who want to know more about how to become this, right? And the process, the training you go through. And you talked a little bit about your background, but what recommendations would you have for a person who's listening, whether it's a student or someone returning to school? What recommendations would you have for them on how to get this job?
Well, I think part of it is just finding your passion, you know, and part of it means whether it's volunteering or like taking jobs, you know, that might be of interest to you, but finding your passion and like never looking back. Like that would be my recommendation is, you know, figure out what you want to do and what population you want to work with or where you want to work, and just run with it. Get training, get experience, get volunteer hours, just whatever it takes. Everyone's looking for volunteers. Like people are short workers. I mean, you can work at the new community homeless shelter or St. John's shelter, or, you know, there's just lots of different places you can work and put your boots on the ground. I think getting in the trenches and doing the work is where you find your passion. And I think I would highly recommend that. Like work experience and volunteer experience goes excellent with your academic coursework. So.
And I think a lot of students think, well, I want to work in the schools, so I need to volunteer in the schools. But that's not really possible, really, like honestly. And so I loved that you said that after you graduated, you did a couple of different kinds of jobs, working with different populations to figure out what the age group or what the population was that you wanted to work with. And then you pursued like a school social worker certificate with your master's. And so I think that is also some great advice, like you
It's
may
not
not be
bad.
able to.
Yeah, it's not bad to hit the pause button just for a hot second and figure out what you really want to do. Because like for me, like this was like a career choice. Like I'm committing to this. Like I want to love what I do for the rest of my life. Like I don't want to be an old crabby lady. I want to be happy and joyful and spread hope and love. And I want to love what I do. And it was worth the pause and the year off to figure that out. So, and I love that.
Well, and I think what Georjeanna just said is really important. I hear from a lot of students things like, well, I want to work with kids, or I want to work in the schools. And I think one of the things that's really important is to recognize that there's lots of ways to do that. That you don't have to just be a teacher. You don't have to just be a school psychologist. There are lots of actual jobs in the schools that students might be perfect for and might love, whether it's anything from being a librarian to a teacher to a school social worker.
Yes, there are so many jobs working with kids. I mean, you could work for Brown County Human Services with child protection, juvenile court intake. You could work at Big Brothers Big Sisters. You could work, you know what I mean? Like there's a plethora of jobs where you are fortunate enough to get to work with youth. And if that's like your passion, like that happened to be mine, but like I also liked working with lots of other populations too. But when you get that flutter in your heart and it feels good and like that's just where you're meant to be, like sometimes you get a sign, and I got the sign and I am exactly where I need to be. So, and it's okay if you think you are where you need to be and you have to shift gears too, because I've had many people who've left the field of education and thought that this is where, their passion was and their drive. But at the end of the day, like some of the things that we're asked to do just didn't like work well with them. Like, and they just decided there's a different path, and it's okay to switch gears. So if you're just coming back and you've tried something else and it didn't work, like good for you for recognizing that and finding something that does make your heart happy.
Absolutely. So we have been asking guests some random questions, and I'm
scared.
I think like you should not be scared. I'm sure Kelsey has picked 5 questions that are pretty awesome. But before we shift gears, Ryan, did you have like one last question that you wanted to ask, or are we all right to go?
I think we're good to move on. I just wanted you to know you asked that in a very ominous way, Georjeanna. You're like, we have been asking guests random questions. And so I understand why Melanie is scared.
I was like, oh,
yeah,
I might be losing connection.
This is a real bait and switch. Like, come talk about school social work, and then we're going to ask you really, really dark, scary questions.
Yeah.
So now let's move to 5 questions. We'll come back and if you have anything you want to plug or talk about, but let's get to our 5 questions. Kelsey, what do you have for Melanie? What horrible, difficult, challenging question have you selected for our guest today?
I mean, I don't think they're bad at all. So I'll roll with it. I do want to say thank you, Melanie, for coming on. And even for what you just said about being able to change your mind and shift gears and things, I literally did that. I was going to be a teacher, chose to go a different direction. And it was a difficult choice. So I appreciate you, someone who's so far along, like giving people permission to say it's okay. Because I feel like we need that sometimes.
But so far along, you don't mean like really old, right?
No, I mean in your career. Oh God.
Yeah, no, that's
Oh
okay.
gosh.
I'm just kidding.
Never mind. I'm not even gonna ask the questions. No.
No, that was really sweet. Please don't be mean to me. I'm just kidding.
All right. Okay. So the first one, easy. Are you messy or are you organized?
Oh my God, I'm OCD. Like, I mean, my kids are probably going to grow up with like the dirtiest houses ever because I have like the most unrealistic expectations. Like the faucet in the kitchen has to be turned totally straight, like before we can like leave the room. And like, I hate it when they like leave lights on, or if there's anything on my counters anywhere, like don't judge my office. Like if you can see it, it's really not that great. I feel like I lost control here, but at home, oh yeah, I'm a total neatnik. Totally. My family would tell you. Like I'm almost impossible to live with because I'm so clean.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I feel like it can be a good thing though, you know, like I wish I were better at it. I very much have like every aspiration to clean and then I end up sitting on the couch and nothing gets done. So I mean,
Yes.
give and take.
I grew up as the youngest of 7 and like our house was like messy. It was just, there were just 50 pairs of shoes by the door. And like, it was just so messy. I think I like was like, I am not growing up like this. Like I'm not having my own house like this. So yeah. So it's night and day. We're polar opposite.
Awesome. Okay, so the next one is, if Hollywood made a movie about your life, who would you like to see cast as you?
Oh gosh. Let's go with Jennifer Aniston because I like think she's really cool. She's really cool.
I was
Yeah,
going to pick her. I was like, oh, if I
Yes.
could pick, I would pick her.
You would? I
I
would.
think
I was
you-
like, I just think she's really funny and cool and kind of like flippant and a little sarcastic and like
Mhm.
that would probably like serve me super well. So
That was a really hard question, I thought, and I thought you answered it really well. So
Oh, thank
nice work.
yeah, did you see me look down like, oh
Yeah, I think you were reading it. I think you already had it.
Oh,
written
yeah.
down. It's just-
I prepped a whole bunch of questions I thought you might ask. That's funny. All right. I have to tell you, the truth is that I hardly ever watch movies though, because like if I'm stopped and I sit still, I'm sleeping. So like I am like the Energizer bunny, go, 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 go until like 10 o'clock at night. And then I'm just like, I'm done. So yeah.
I love it. Okay, so what did you want to be when you were growing up?
An accountant. I started at UWGB in accounting. I thought
No,
I was-
you did
Yep.
not.
Oh, I did too. I was going to be an accountant. Yep. I was going to sit in my office and crunch numbers all day. And I thought, oh my gosh, this job is so boring. Like, I cannot. Like, oh my gosh, I need someone with personality in my life all around me because, yeah. Yep. So I was going to be an accountant. Yep. I think it's just because I love my high school accounting teacher. She was great. So she was one
I
of my-
almost became an actuary.
Oh,
And then I interviewed for a job and I thought the same thing. I was like, how do these people do this all day long? They don't talk to anyone. I was like, no,
yeah.
that will not bring me joy.
Oh. Ryan, what were you going to be?
I wanted to be a math teacher,
Oh,
actually.
gosh.
Yeah,
Look at us nerding up right here.
Yeah. I know. And then I went to for a similar reason. Actually, I loved my high school math teacher, and I loved math in high school. And then I didn't love math quite as much in college. And I think part of it was instruction. I just didn't have the same kind of great teacher, but I did love psych. So,
Kelsey, and you said you were going to be a teacher?
Yeah, I just wanted to be duly noted that I hated math. Like it was like I enjoyed my math teacher because he was funny, but other than that, math is like the hardest thing, which is funny because my sister is actually an accountant or whatever. So,
Oh,
she works
sorry.
for, like, no, you're fine. She works for Acuity and everything and she loves it, but it's just so funny because we're very opposite. Like our brains work very differently. But yes, I think I flipped a lot, but yeah, I think teacher was a long-term goal and now that's shifted. But okay, so let's see. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Aside from messy people, dishonesty. I struggle in the families I work with. I tell them all the time, tell me the truth. Like I will love you and accept you regardless of whatever it is. Like we can move on from there, but like I really need you to be honest with me. And when people are not honest, I struggle. I struggle to work with them. I struggle to like, and I'm a very good forgiver, but like that's really hard for me. Like you don't have to be dishonest. I'm not going to judge you. I don't care what you tell me. I will not judge you. So yeah, so that is my pet peeve aside from messiness.
And that's why I think it's so important as a school social worker to build that trust. And I think you do such a fantastic job with that, because I think a lot of times people who are in the system learn to be distrustful because of things that have happened to them. And so I love the fact that you are a trustworthy person to whom they can be honest. And so thank you for that.
Thank you. I think that's such an important quality, I think, in this field, and just being a good person, like for everybody, whether it's social worker or anything else. Like, I think that's really an important quality, and something I really value is honesty. So.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, see, so you survived. And that was 4 questions. We have one more though. One more. This is a very easy one. Are you
Good.
ready?
I need to go get some more deodorant after this. I'm sweating over here. I'm worried about what's going to be fired next. So, whew.
All right. Where is your favorite place to eat?
Oh boy. Really, anywhere I don't have to cook. Yeah, anywhere but home. Let's see. Okay, so it's kind of like a little hole in the wall and it's close to my home, but Just Stop In is like a little bar on Highway 57 on the south side of Pere, headed towards Wrightstown, my hometown. Like, they do good fish fries, even though I don't eat fish. I'm more of like a grilled chicken gal, but they just have really good homemade soup and food. And I would say that that's probably like a Friday night guilty pleasure. So after a long week, Just Stop In makes my day. I'm kind of a simple gal, nothing crazy. Just give me a grilled chicken sandwich and I'm really happy.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Melanie, for everything you do, for talking with us today, and also for answering the 5 questions, the very difficult 5 questions. I feel like the favorite restaurant stumped you more than any of the others, though.
I think it did. I think it did. I mean, like, cause I'm pretty cool with anywhere, really. If I don't have to cook it, I'm pretty good. I mean,
that is me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We don't do McDonald's or like things like that, but like anywhere else, I'm pretty good with.
Nice. So, what do you want to plug? Do you have any resources, anything you want to tell people about as we finish up here?
I think, you know what, if anyone is interested in some volunteer hours, we have this Christmas store coming up at Pere Christian Outreach Christmas store at First United Presbyterian Church on the corner of George Street and Webster and Pere. And we're doing that store on December 7th and December 8th. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is like, if there's a snow day. Oh, I hope not, but you never know here. Like,
True.
You never know. We could get 40 inches tomorrow. So anyway, but so we have this opportunity for families to come in and they can purchase things at rummage sale prices. If a family can't afford it, we just give it to them. But there's something in the book called Toxic Charity that talks about just being given things, like families feel a sense of pride. It's like restored and their dignity is maintained if they can like feel like they've paid their way for it a little bit. So so they get things really, really cheap. I mean, they get $5 per kid and they walk out with like basically a grocery cart full of items for that one child for $5. So it's pretty incredible, but we're looking for volunteers for that. So if you are looking for some hours to, work with families or see if that's maybe your passion is to work with families. No kids come through because the parents are like playing Santa and they're shopping for their kids, but you get to work with parents and really grateful parents and really sweet parents. So it's a really wonderful opportunity. So I will share the links out. And if you have an interest, you can sign right up on our Google sign up sheet. I think it's Sign Up Genius actually, but yeah, we would love to have you if you might have an interest. And I'm going to be working there. So that's the added bonus. You get to see me and meet me in person. Yeah, that's not a very good sell job, but that's all I got.
That is perfect. We will include that link in our show notes, and then also Kelsey will tweet that out around the time the episode comes out, or post it on Facebook and Instagram and all sorts of places. So great. There's no links on Instagram. I know that. I don't know why I just said that.
Because it sounded good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So outstanding. You can find Kelsey's work at Psych and Stuff on Instagram, where there are no links. Also on Twitter and Facebook. Georjeanna, where can people find you?
At Georjeannawd on all of the platforms except for TikTok, because only Ryan's a TikToker in this group.
Wow. Yeah, you can find me at Anger Professor. You can come and yell at me over things I say there, which is the norm lately. You can, I am on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That's it. No Snapchat for me. Snapchat is the anti-social network, I think. So not doing that. Wonderful having you. Thank you so much, Melanie, for everything you're doing. Psychology and Stuff is a production of Phoenix Studios at the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. The executive producer is Ryan Martin and the production manager is Kate Farley. Our audio production coordinator is Bill Salick. Our graphic designer is Kimberly Vlies and our intern is Kelsey Engelhardt. Special thanks to today's guest, Melanie Brick. If you haven't already, please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also head over to our website, uwgb.edu/podcast, to check out past episodes of this and all our shows. I'm your host, Ryan Martin, and I'm here with my co-host, Georjeanna Wilson-Dunges. Keep being amazing.